makes a way. Moses and God's people escaped out of Egypt and into the wilderness. They didn't know the way, but God knew the way and he would show them. I'll bring you to a new home, a special land, God promised them. I'll look after you. I'm with you. And God sent a big cloud for them to follow, a pillar of smoke stretching up to the sky. It moved in front of them as they walked, and it shaded them from the heat of the day. When it was time to rest, it stopped, and all through the cold desert nights it kept them warm, glowing like fire. God led his people through the desert to the edge of a great sea. They were just wondering how to cross it when suddenly they heard terrible thundering and pounding. It sounded like horses' hooves. They shaded their eyes to look back and they screamed because it was Pharaoh and his army were coming to get them. Pharaoh had changed his mind again. "Get my slaves back," he screeched, and he charged out into the desert after them with 600 fast horsemen and every single chariot in Egypt. What were God's people going to do? In front of them was a big sea. It was so big there was no way around it. And there was no way through it because it was too deep and they didn't have any boats. They couldn't swim across. It was too far. They would drown. They couldn't turn back because Pharaoh was chasing them. They could see the flashing swords glinting in the sun and the dust clouds, and chariot after chariot was surging towards them. So all they had left to do was panic. "We're going to die," they shrieked. "Don't be afraid," Moses said. "There's nothing we can do," they screamed. "God knows you can't do anything," said Moses. "God will do it for you. Just trust him and watch." There's no way out," they cried. "God will make a way," Moses said. Another minute and it would have been over, but then the strangest thing happened. Well, we got to go big ways. God made the pillar of smoke move. It moved behind his people and it hid them from the Egyptians. God sent a strong wind to blow all night, and it blew on the water of the sea, and it blew it to the left, and it blew it to the right, and it blew it into two big walls of water, and there right through the middle was a path. God's people walked across it onto dry land. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the walls of water crashed back down and swallowed them up. God's people were safe, and they danced and laughed and sang, and they thanked God. When there had been no way out, God had made a way. Many years later, once again, God was going to make a way where there was no way. Because from the beginning, God's children had been running from him and hiding. God knew his children could never be happy without him, but they couldn't get back to him by themselves. They were lost and they didn't know the way back. But God knew the way, and one day he would show them.